It's Friday, April 13th, 2018. This is Poppin' Off, the extension of Poppin' Off.
Yeah.
With your
Well,
host,
me.
Danny Okers. Take it away,
That's
Danny.
me. That's me. That's weird that somebody else is introducing me, because now I have to use that word.
Did your
That's
arms
me.
go up in the air?
They did.
Why did
It's just
I
how
watched
I
the show
naturally
on
talk.
mute, and it looked like you were trying to wave down a plane like you were on a desert island? I was like, what the hell is he doing?
It's just how I naturally talk. I talk with my arms. I don't know why.
But
You
have
don't?
a mouth.
You don't like move your arms when you talk and stuff?
I'll do my hands every now and again. But no, not to the extent of you. Like I would not want to have a conversation with you in an elevator. Someone's getting fucking backhanded.
What you gotta realize is we have drinks and we're loose on that show. I feel like if you and George and Dan all had like a drink or two every show, you'd move your arms a little bit more when you were talking. You're a little bit looser. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not drunk or anything, but you're just like a little bit looser, and so you move your arms around a little bit more.
Do you want me to move my arms a lot today and see if George catches on?
Yes, I do.
All right, audience that's watching right now
2
at home,
minutes?
I am gonna move my arms ridiculously in the first 20 minutes. All right, but I don't want to do that unless I get some LOLs on Twitter or something. I'm the type of class clown that if nobody's laughing,
It's not funny.
I'll just stop. So I need to know that people are laughing, and we're gonna see if George gets it. Everything I explain will be via my arms. I'm gonna be
You got a
like one
couple
of
thumbs
those things at a used car dealership.
Wacky waving inflatable tube men.
Yeah. What's that guy's name?
That was one.
Hail a cab.
Something.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Yeah.
Darth. What was his name? You know what I'm talking about,
What
right?
Which guy?
for the Family Guy?
The wacky
Star Wars.
Yeah. Whatever.
can't remember.
That guy. Yeah, I'll be him.
Coming up in a minute.
All right.
I'm gonna sit here and watch the camera stream.
Oh, wow. Today is the day I moved to New York, apparently.
Ooh.
Nueva York.
On a Friday the 13th.
How about that, huh?
Well, it wouldn't have been Friday the 13th, right?
Maybe
You
it
never
wouldn't
know
have.
if the-
Yeah, it could have.
If the years matched up enough, it just goes around. Going up 30.
It's true.
This concludes Poppin' Off, Volume 2.
It's a much skinnier version of me that traveled to New York.
I see George out there.
Yeah, you do.
He's got sunglasses on.
Yeah, you do. Why does he have
He's
sunglasses?
Cyclops.
All
right, guys.
My
Coming up. Stand by.
sunglasses at night, so I can, so I...
Here, I'm gonna fuck with him. Watch this.
This is your captain.
This is MMA
We are
Junkie
making
Radio.
our
I
descent
am
to Las
Goes.
Vegas
That is
Madrid
Dan.
Airport. On behalf of our
Back
crew, we'd like to thank you for
in New
flying
York is
MMA
Danny
Junkie
Okers.
Airlines. Now
Today's
please
show will be a
fasten
fun
your
show.
seatbelts and put your tray
We
tables
have-
in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little
George
bit
is
bumpy.
All right, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space,
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
we've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology, MMA Junkie Radio, commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our East co-host. To my left, the fight analyst, Dan Tom, back east, handling all the producing duties, Danny Otto. What's up? And shout out to Beaver Rob. Beaver Rob. Hanging out here on the desk. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Man, that's some bullshit. We don't have odds. For UFC on Fox 29, I was lingering up there talking to the ticket takers, and then one of the managers came up. He couldn't find anything. They have nothing. They only have Cormier and Miocic.
That's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
especially for Fox.
MGM Resorts is a credible sports book. And this is a big card. Like, what is going on?
A lot is being focused on the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well,
I don't know, man.
I got some.
I know we don't create our own odds. The odds have been created. It's just a matter of posting them and then working off the handle. You know, if we have to make a tweak here or there, then we will. But
baseball's back.
I wanted to give you guys your sheets so we can kind of come up with a parlay. We haven't done that in a while. But
yeah. Well, if you want for whenever in the show, I'll keep these online. The odds here posted. I use them to write my betting article, which should come out later today in MMA Junkie. But I'll keep these posted here, George. If something comes to mind, you want to know a number on it, and we'll at least can give an online something.
It's still Poirier is the favorite, right?
Yes, sir. He's still listed at climbed a little bit, minus 135. Well, actually, no, a little tighter depending on where you look. But yeah, minus 135 Poirier, plus 115 Justin Gaethje.
I still think Poirier has a slight edge. And those little intangibles that I'm talking about is he's coming off a win. He's riding this wave of momentum. His confidence is high. The other guy's coming off a loss, and we don't know how he's going to react coming off a loss. He's lost in wrestling. He'll tell you that. He's told the reporters that. But in MMA, he hasn't.
Yeah.
And you can either come back like a savage and really learn off that loss, or sometimes it takes a couple, stringing it together, and then you're able to shake it off, because you may just think, hey, you know what? Alvarez is pretty damn good.
Right.
He just got me, but I'm still sticking with my, the way I approach fights, my game plans. So we don't know, man. That's the mysterious thing about mixed martial arts. I think Poirier has kind of already cleared those hurdles, and now he's just matching up against anyone, man. Former champions in Pettis and Alvarez had great fights there. Jim Miller, a tough, durable wrestler who out-experienced them. Got past that. I mean, there just seems we seem to have thrown a lot of different hurdles his way, obstacles, whatever. Outs. They're all tough outs, and he's gotten past them all. So I just think he's the guy to go with. Now, it could be that Gaethje proves us wrong, and imagine looking at Gaethje and going, wow, he's 18-1, and he's coming off a win over Poirier. The whole tune changes.
I like them both as fighters and as people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one thing that I cannot overlook is, and this guy told me this, he said, I'm not going to lose at home. I think that's what it's going to come to. That dude is not going to lose at home.
That's a huge factor. And you know what? And the problem is, though, I think that he means that, and I agree with that. And I think that what George is saying, I think that Gaethje is going to come back strong. I don't doubt any of those things. The problem is Gaethje in the form that he fights is so hard to predict because it's that hailstorm, right? It's that cartoon dust cloud where the hands and feet are going. And those fights, we've seen them in the WS, not just UFC, even WSOF. You watch the fights there. There are moments where you're a Gaethje fan, you're clutching onto your ticket, right? And that's the hard part about trying to predict a guy like that.
And one of those was at home too.
Exactly. Yes.
So
Goes was there.
He will not lose at home. I'll tell you that right now.
He's seen it. Goes seen it.
I love Dustin Poirier, but Justin Gaethje won't lose at home.
Okay.
It's a strong argument.
It's not like one guy's a considerable favorite over the other. I mean, they're both legit fighters.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I would say Poirier's maybe just a little bit more popular because he's been in the UFC for such a long time. Hell, maybe that makes the difference. I don't know. Luckily, we get to see it in about 36 hours. Hey, shouldn't they be weighing in around now?
Or have all the weights? It's official. Yeah. Dustin, I believe, was the last one to weigh in. He hit the 156 mark. And the main event is official.
So what about the rest of the fighters?
I didn't see
all 28 of them. There's 14 fights tomorrow. That's crazy.
I think I saw a tweet go out that everybody made weight with no drama. Surprising no drama tweets, but I'll double check for the official. But yeah.
How do the ladies stack up? Do the ladies have problems making weight, or am I just hating again?
Oh no, that one you got to give them a pass, right? Because the biology is different with the water retention and the menstrual
we
cycles
can't
and all
give
that.
them a pass. Well, I can't because I don't give them a pass in other realms of life, you know, and I think it's equal. I commend women on how strong they are, how I think their tolerance of pain is way higher than men.
What?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man! Like, mom, dude, has been through a lot, and when she tells me later on some of the things she's been through, and she's been able to hold it down, you know, I get a cold and I'm like, oh, I want my tea. And men are pussies. Women can be strong, man. They can hold it all in. They have to be strong, especially the ones that go on to, you know, nurture families. And I think women can be. Have you ever heard of the? Women can also be very cold-blooded. Like, a lot of women are used as assassin killers in the cartels, and they'll say that they'll follow the instructions better than. So when they need to be, they can be more focused and less emotional. How about? I can't get into it, but do you remember at JBLE there was a certain unit and the women did it better, and it would shock everyone if we told them what it was they did better, handled better, stressed better.
There's probably good stats out there, but let's take the cartel.
Yeah.
All right, and we just captured.
But you know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We just captured 2 men and a lady. I highly doubt they would say, let's start with these guys first before we get to her. I think they would just go after her.
I don't know. But circling back, Dan, the reason I don't like to is because the women want to be treated equal, and we need to be treating them equal. So if I start to give them a pass, then I feel like it's the old, you know, well, she's a female, and let's give her a pass, and stop the fight sooner, you know, her facial structure. I mean, I feel like it has to be fair the whole way, whether a referee's going to stop the fight, not just because it's a female or they have the things I just said. I think you just call it the way it is.
Not even a little bit
across
of
the
a
board.
pass, though? Like,
I want to, as a
things,
man. Like, my mom raised me to open the doors and treat women with respect, and
Well-
I always do that. Offer my coat, hold the umbrella, all that stuff. But in this sport, Trig taught us a good lesson. Let's not focus on, woohoo, did you see that ass? You know, I've gotten away from that because I didn't know what the hell I was doing when we first started. So there would be times, ask Felice Herrig, how many times on social media I'd be bugging her, you're like, let's see the outfit, you know, like things like that when she would weigh in. That was her thing. She embraced it, but at the same time, I was leading the charge. But as you grow into it and you realize, okay, hold on a second, you know, that we're past that and we need to treat them in a certain way, then if they don't make weight, I can't do it. They didn't make weight. We have to come down.
I get
on
where you're
them.
coming from, but I correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I guess maybe what he means is, like, let's just say weight cuts are done normally in a certain fashion. Come Tuesday, everything's great, and Wednesday, female fighter wakes up and goes, "Oh my God, I just started my period.
Right.
Now I'm bloated. I need to make these adjustments," and just the body doesn't cooperate. She misses weight. She's done it 22 times before and hasn't had that issue. I could give her a pass, and if she does it again, then hey, you've already gone through this. I don't know. Yeah. That's what I think he means, maybe by like a little bit of a pass.
Well, all I was going to say was, sorry, I was fetching that info, which I have, and I'll get to in 1 second. But all I was going to say is I agree with you in principle. I agree with you in that example you gave as far as stopping the fights. That's a relevant example, too. But doesn't science have to step in at a certain point? We just going to ignore science, Science, and then to me, that's more of a scientific fact, more than it is a narrative or a social, which do exist. It does exist, right, on both sides, whether we're for it, whether we're a jerk and we're against it, or whether we're just trying to be in the middle and we're just trying to have that social equality, right, and just make things right and our hearts in the right place. That's all fine, but I don't think that has anything to do with a certain point to science to a certain extent. And I think when it comes to especially weight cutting and brain trauma, I think any kind of politics on what you think of an organization's ploy, like, oh, they don't want brain trauma for this, or weight, oh, well, women should get a pass for. I think those things kind of take a backseat. I think when we're talking about health and things that are backed up by scientific fact, we got to look at scientific fact and use that to kind of navigate through the conversation. That's all I'm saying. But I agree. I agree with you in principle.
I
I
would love
100%
to see
agree.
of the ones that have missed weight,
right?
If they've ever polled them and said, was it because of this, or just like some of the guys, maybe they had a lazy camp, or they miss. I don't know. They
Shoot.
miscalculated.
Water retention is a tricky thing, man. I mean, one of my hardest weight cuts, I did 7.5 hours. I did 7.5 pounds in 3 hours, and I was done. I had to make 149. It was the last time I ever made that weight for a Naga, and I remember I felt like that was the best cut I've ever had. In fact, that was the most I've ever water loaded. Not only did I do the water loading 2 weeks, I even diuretic loaded, and diuretic naturally, not through any kind of supplements. I mean, just putting a obtuse amount of asparagus in my smoothies every morning to make sure I could release the water. I planned it so well. Was the hardest cut, and men much more easier on the biological scientific scale. And you just hear that sometimes, and I agree with you, and I would be interested too if they pulled them aside. But another reason why I do sympathize is you don't really hear a lot of ladies pulling that card. Whereas if we want to play the stereotypes, and I'm sure, because I've heard ladies that are bosses complaining about this too, where even your best workers, your most best workers, ladies, every lady will pull that card where, hey, I'm not feeling too great today, whether it's real or not. I have related symptoms. Everybody pulls that card if we want to be. And I'll take the heat for making that stereotype, but just to show the other side of it, hey, I see that point too, but I don't think it has play in here for the scientific fact. And also, kind of, since you just brought up that point, I'm thinking about it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, I don't remember any, through interviews or anything, where I can remember, like, at least on the pro level, fighters going, I lost because of this. And we've heard a lot of men and women injuries, I was sick, something happened before I went out there, valid or not, we've heard a lot of things. But that I have not heard. So for what that's worth.
So I was thinking about something. In tennis, don't they go men 5 sets and women 3 sets?
Yeah, ladies' tee and men's tee, and there's a lot of variations.
That's one thing I've always liked about in our sport is they still get the full 5 minutes for non-title fights and 25 minutes. Now granted, we're a newer sport, and women's MMA is slightly. When did women start really throwing down? About 10, 15 years after men?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're about halfway, of what the history of our sport is. 25 years we're going to be pushing. I've never heard that excuse either, except maybe years later, but never offered as an immediate excuse as to why they lost or why they had a rough weight cut or whatever. But I don't know. See, I just like to deal with,
we need a woman
did they
here.
make weight or not?
We need a woman here.
And if they didn't, then I'm just saying, well, that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
But I feel like, because it's not just going off the memory and recent news. When we have guests on, I look them up, and Tapology's got a great site in that they'll tell you if it was a catch weight, who missed, or whatever. And I feel like I come across a lot of those for the ladies. So it could be that reason, But I mean, what a damn coincidence that something that can be 4 to 7 days is happening right during fight week. I mean, I guess it is a 1 in 4 chance. I guess if we give them
a longer leash, really is what I do. Yeah. Because even then, if it happened one time, then I think the next time you would probably not let your weight get up too high.
I bet you it wouldn't be hard to find, if you track all the females on Twitter, I bet you it wouldn't be too hard to find a woman saying, you got to make weight. You got to be a professional. They say it too.
Yeah, 100%.
They hold their own standards.
That's
I'm with them in there. I'm like.
Yeah, that's where I'll jump back on the side of George there as far as equality. If we're talking about being as far as explanation, I stand by my explanation. But if we're talking about how to be proactive, that's where I side back on George as far as equality. Then, yeah, I agree. Yeah, everybody down the line needs to make it.
Now, where it sucks is I think, for example, there are just some physical things that men are going to be able to do that women can't. Most of the time, feats of strength, for example. And so I'm all for the equality, and I just think there's going to be the right times when it's not. And I think the educated women are the ones that grant that. You know what I mean? If, let's say Miesha Tate was on our panel, and there was an 8-foot basketball court right here, and somebody offers, hey, if one of you 4 can dunk the ball, you all get $1 million. Wouldn't you guys maybe look towards me before Miesha?
No. Perhaps.
You think she can dunk a basketball?
We have a bad knee.
Well, let's say I was healthy
That's true.
and not fat. I'm just saying.
All right.
Okay, pick a 6'5" women's MMA, WNBA lady and a 6'5" or even 6'3" NBA guy. Who do you want to make that dunk?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was thinking she's an athlete.
Or hit a home run or whatever.
So maybe. I don't know.
Or hit a home run. Maybe let's give them both the bat and see who can hit the ball. That's what I'm talking about. The stuff that's a little bit, more plain as day. How in the hell did we get through all this? So everyone made weight, I think you said?
The weigh-ins apparently aren't over. I thought they were.
Oh, okay.
Gilbert Burns, Patrick Williams look to be the only names that I saw that don't have a I went to MMAJunkie.com, of course, with live updates there. I went to that, and they're the only ones that didn't have a weight next to their name. So those are the ones
so
we're waiting
far, so
on.
good.
Yeah, but Gilbert Burns, interesting fact, though. Remember, he was a rebooking because they said he came in heavy on his last one. He's supposed to fight Oliver Aubin Mercier a couple cards ago, and they rebooked it for this card without Aubin got Dunham, and then Burns is fighting a local cat from the MMA lab there. But yeah, Burns has been coming in heavy traditionally, so it's something to watch that he hasn't weighed in yet.
Aubin Mercier needed that type of a win.
Oh man, yeah, that was
he's
wow,
kind of a decisionator a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was a great win, and it was a name over a respectable
quality
155er that's really durable and tough to finish like that. If you look at Evan Dunham's losses, not many come of the variation of a stoppage in the first round. So that was huge for him. At the same time, how much do you think it hurt Evan? Because Evan's now in the sport, what, guys, 8 years I think he's probably been in the UFC?
Wow.
When you take that loss like that in your 8th year in the UFC, at whatever age he's at, it's going to be tough to regroup from that, especially if you want to be a world champion. But more importantly, or maybe not more importantly, depending on where they're at, because a lot of fighters, I think, come to the realization that they're not going to be a world champion. So now it's just a matter of you chased your dream, you tried. So you know what? In the meantime, I'll just say the right things, but I just want to cash some checks and get out of here with my health and some money for the kids, for college, maybe to pay off my home, my cars, or to just have a savings or start a new gig. You see what I'm saying? A lot of those fighters are there.
There's
and Evan's got his own little business. He's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym here in Las Vegas. So I hope that he continues to gain fights, but him and Lauzon, like I saw those two fights, and I just thought to myself,
yes,
I wonder how damaging that will be to their careers.
Yeah, there's definitely the overhead look on that, which you just mentioned Lauzon. I feel that's more of a question for Lauzon, and I hate to even put that question on any fighter, especially two ones that I love, respect, and just love watching, like Lauzon and Dunham, right? And whereas Dunham, too, even more importantly, he had a ranking standing. He had a good standing, and he was sitting on his spot, deservedly so. Yeah. But he was sitting on his spot and trying to get, and he got a good matchup. I really like that matchup because it was a good matchup for him. It made sense, and it was a good matchup for Tyzimov, the guy he was originally supposed to face in New York. So, yeah, on multiple levels there you feel for Dunham because he still had traction, he still had some standing, and you got to imagine that knocks him down a good stead. You're a rankings guy, George. You know that. You know how that math goes.
Yeah, it'll hurt him like that. The way to bounce back though is depending on the type of a loss, however long you have to sit out. You approach the matchmaker and let them know, I'm awaiting my next fight booking, but at the same time, if some of these guys can't go, count on me to make weight and be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Smart one, yeah.
And so it may wind up being a situation where I'll use Pettis and Chiesa, for example.
Okay.
Let's say Dunham had lost about a month before that, and we're talking about this loss, and today we log on and say, hey, Chiesa can't go. Pettis doesn't want to fight Felder. Yeah. And that's where Dunham says, I can be there in 24 hours. I'll make the weight. And so Pettis is going to go, wow, shit, I want to fight. I didn't really want to fight someone below me. And maybe this is more of a Wednesday thing, not a Friday thing. But I don't want to fight anyone below me, but I do want to get paid. I did all this work, and Evan's willing to step up. So he takes the Dunham fight, and then Dunham gets him. And so Dunham now, whatever he lost by losing to Aubin Mercier, he would gain back by beating Pettis, especially if we can beat a great stoppage. You know what I mean? So now you have to be ready to go, and hopefully you get lucky and get one of those types of positions where all of a sudden you get it all back.
Marlon Moraes, look how quickly he turned things around
Moraes.
like that. Sometimes a loss that happens quickly like that can be less brutal ranking-wise than getting dominated for 3 rounds. Because getting dominated, sometimes things get exposed. That type of loss, you could just say, oh, man, he just got caught. He's a great fighter. He just got caught. It may be less detrimental than, say, if he were to be dominated for 3 rounds and people go, well, Evan Dunham's not up to this standard. It might have actually worked out in his favor ranking-wise.
You have to he's just going to have to stay ready, keep his weight on point, but communicate either through his manager and with the UFC and just let them know, hey, I want to get this back, but I'm ready to go. And and see what happens.
And if they do match him up, sorry, I just want to say I hope they match him up, properly too, like with guys more kind of commensurate. Like I know he already fought Joe Lauzon, maybe not that, but something like that. I know Gomi's not there, but like a matchup like that, another guy at that level. Harder to find at 155.
You mean if it's one with the proper camp?
Yeah, proper camp as far as
agree.
going forward, regardless if it's going to be something that gets him a rank.
Those matches are interesting in a way because they become either like lose or leave town, or they're both on a 2-fight win streak. Nobody wants a 3-fight win streak, or they're both on a 1-fight, or they both need to come back from that. And I like those just as much as two guys with a 4-fight win streak, where the guy that wins is in a real good position to contend for a title, and the other one just suffers a setback. By the way, that reminds me of something we were talking about the other day. Two things. I know Dan from Oregon had called about rankings, and we went to a commercial, and he never came back and addressed it. But the other one was just talking about matchmaking. And I know with matchmaking, for many years, the UFC would get guys and gals coming off wins and pair them together, coming off losses and pair them together. And I understand the logic in that. You start to just it becomes obvious if you're eliminating everyone else that you're the worthy number one contender. Now, they kind of got away from that with them just having so many shows, injuries, fighters don't fight as often. So sometimes they just have to pick this. Now, it works sometimes if you have a high-profile guy coming off a loss, like Poirier and Gaethje. No one has a problem with it because they're both exciting. They both accomplish a lot, and they're both up there. So even though one guy's coming off a loss, one guy's coming off a win, we're all in. So it works that way. But I heard Luke Thomas's show, and he was saying he really likes it when the older guy fights the younger guy, and to use a pro wrestling term, gives that younger guy the chance to get put over on their name.
Yeah. It's a natural way of things, eh?
Yeah, he likes that. I do, but not all the time.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I feel like there's still these mid-tier guys or gatekeepers or whatever you want to call that can kind of get you there, but a lot of the older guys won't do that.
Yeah.
They feel like they want to fight other guys. Like Vitor, him fighting Uriah, I think Uriah had put enough time where they were going to make that happen. But Vitor and Lyoto, I'm kind of just as excited.
Right,
because it's two guys that never fought that now I've been wanting to see for so many years. And even though I wanted to see it 5 years ago or 7 years ago maybe, I at least get to see it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why I have an appreciation for how that may work. And one of them may be the end of their career, or one of them takes a tumble that's, like Rashad.
Nice
so Rashad versus some of the younger guys he's been fighting.
Right.
Yeah, they've kind of gotten over on him, but I don't feel like the matchup was sexy on paper. Like Alvey and Rashad and Daniel Kelly and Rashad. I felt like Rashad just needed to fight the Vitors and the other guys of the world and headline card. I think they have another sort of a use for them, So sometimes yes, sometimes no. Regarding rankings, early on our editor-in-chief just told us we were not to participate in the UFC rankings. And I think that went for a lot of the major sites. That's the same thing that they were told. So even had we wanted to do it, I believe we just weren't going to do it. And we wanted to concentrate more on our rankings. USA Today has long been recognized for rankings in many sports, high school sports especially, but for sure college football. There's a whole big, I think they call it the Sears Trophy, prior to the BCS era, where that was just as respected as the one that the Associated Press would put out. Sometimes it'd be two different ones. But either way, USA Today Sports that's the way they've done it. So we had a history on it, and we wanted to continue with it, and that's why we stay with who we stay with. It started off more as a bigger group, and then it kind of just whittled down. It was tough to coordinate because of vacations, and I think some people were just more passionate about it than others. And in the end, basically, I'll start something, send it off. Some disagreements, and then boom, we have it there. We have our final answer. But that's to answer Dan from Oregon's question from about a week ago. But also wanted to point out that when the New York Athletic Commission had apparently said Felder couldn't qualify because he wasn't even number 15 in the UFC rankings, that's where you can see the conflict of the UFC having their own rankings.
Yeah.
Because then they
right
could,
there. Yep.
you know what I'm saying? They could, one could question that maybe they've been altered or whatever.
Facilitated a certain way.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I would think that they could look to an independent body. And, of course, I'll throw my hand up and say, look at USA Today Sports, but because they have a history on it. We've been doing it for a long time. I think we're credible. We win awards. We're fucking badass. But if they wanted to use someone else's, I'd have no problem with it as well, as long as it was independent of the promotion.
I'll give a couple of examples of what we were talking about with matchmaking. Take a guy like Cub Swanson. When he fought Brian Ortega, what do you think they wanted when that fight took place? Right? Kind of worked out for him. Brian Ortega got launched into a really high-profile fight.
Yeah.
But take Derek Lewis. When he fought Mark Hunt, what do you think they wanted to happen in that fight? Mark Hunt was not in good stances with the UFC at the time. Derek Lewis was the new guy on the block. Didn't work out for him, right?
Those
sometimes it's hit and miss.
Those are good examples, and I'll take it one further because I agree. Like we all point to the Darren Till, Donald Cerrone when it goes right, but not just. I'm with George where I don't like it sometimes too. But to kind of expand further, here's a good triangle on not just two bad matchups, but it points out two different styles of bad matchups, and they both involve Yair Rodriguez. There's Yair Rodriguez versus BJ Penn, which is just the gross version where it doesn't need to be. This is, this is not anybody who knows anything about the sport knows that this isn't him getting over on BJ Penn. This isn't the same BJ Penn, and what you're doing here is really gross matchmaking. And there was internally, I know there's a lot of people upset with that one. Now then, Yair Rodriguez, who they're continuing trying to build, and who do they put him up against? Frank Yeager with the same idea in mind, except now this isn't gross matchmaking. This is bad matchmaking because forget about the BJ Penn thing. You have a guy in Yair Rodriguez you want to promote and do well. Well, again, the matchmakers are very smart guys, and I know it's not always their decision, so I'm not coming at any that they're all very respectable dudes. It's not always their decisions. Keep that in mind. But this was one where the matchmaker probably should have stepped in maybe more and been like, ooh, this Frank Yeager guy's a bad stylistic matchup. I know this game. I'm a matchmaker. I know how these things work out. We don't want Yair. Yair is not the kind of guy who's going to do well with a guy that can wrestle and take him down.
Raw. He's not ready for that.
And then what does he do? Not only does he lose, so you get the guy that, like Ghost said, who projected who the promotion wants to win, but even further, he takes a bad beating of a loss. We haven't seen him since. We got to see how,
pushing a year.
And then back to what you guys said with Gaethje, who we're not as worried about. But again, when they come off of that loss, that real first bad loss, it's a big thing to come off of. So that's the difference between really kind of you can do it grossly bad, and you can just do it, tactically bad. And that's the example I go to.
I remember Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez when they were rising up, and we were looking for people to fight Brock. I didn't want them to fight each other to see who would fight Brock. I wanted Brock to fight both. Because
they didn't have much options back then.
If Cain beat exactly, that's even more reason. So if Cain beat Junior, we'll say, but got injured, now Brock's going, now what? You see what I'm saying? So I'd rather have Brock fight Cain, and if he beat Cain, then have Junior ready, because I felt like there was a little bit more insurance. I felt like there was a drop off from the number 2 and 3 guy to the 4 or 5.
Yeah.
When they weren't as stacked at the time. But so there's times where I want to avoid it. Right now, you learn from covering the sport that sometimes an opportunity can go by. So Lewis and Ngannou, I'm kind of warm to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ngannou already had his shot. Lewis hasn't. But I'm kind of warm to it because they've been kind of building it. And I feel like there's going to be still another heavyweight there, maybe to be there to pick up the pieces in case someone wins and gets injured, or in case someone wins and is lackluster, or what if Ngannou wins? I mean, are we ready to turn him over to Stipe that quickly? I'm not so sure. I feel like Ngannou still needs a little bit more seasoning.
You kind of got it, though, if he beats a guy like Derek Lewis, right?
Maybe. Verdum just took a hard loss, and he was starting to really, really become the guy. Over him gets Arlovsky, but beating Arlovsky, I'm not sure, puts him – it doesn't erase what Ngannou just did to him. So, yeah, as I'm eliminating the names, I know Barnett is free to come back and fight. I just don't know if he's a favorite of the UFC and if he's in any form of a pivotal matchup to compete. So you might be right. Now, we still have DC and Stipe. They could have a classic, so the instant rematch is in play. There's a rumor of if Brock comes over, would he get an instant shot? I'd rather not see that. So who knows? But one thing I've noticed is over the years, sometimes when you want to play it and build it too much and look for the perfect scenario, all of a sudden there's, his contract's like Musasi, man. God, I really wanted to see him fight for a world title. and all of a sudden he just left as a free agent. Remember when we were bragging and saying the middleweight division, it's as good as it's ever been?
Yep.
And you know what I mean? Even with Anderson taking that tough loss in England to Bisping, I still felt he was fighting all right. Hendo still had knockout power. You know, Vitor was a year removed from that incredible year that he had. There was the Rockhold, there was the Weidmans, there was so much going on. For many years, Anderson ruled the division. There was just no one in sight. And all of a sudden, we had all these possibilities. And look how quick those possibilities went away. Whether it was free agency or tough losses or careers that have just come to a close or guys moving divisions. You know, Rashad's going back to light heavyweight. It can all happen like that, man.
Musasi's a great example, too, because it went from, you know, stacked division, there's a contender queue to, we need a contender. Who's the champion? And he was gone by that point.
Exactly. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We got this first full hour wide open, so if you want to chime in on any of these topics, 866-522-2846. In the second hour, we'll have Ricky Simone. He's debuting in the UFC. We've known him as an LFA fighter, but now he's debuting in the UFC over in Atlantic City, the Edson Kevin Lee card. And we'll also be talking to James Vick, who got kind of called out by the aforementioned Justin Gaethje. He says he's got a few words for him. So we'll talk to both cats in the second hour. Stay close. We'll be right back.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
NASCAR heads to the world's fastest half mile, Bristol Motor Speedway, Sunday at 1 Eastern for the Food City 500. Race coverage starts at Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern on your home for NASCAR, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. Half mile, that's a lot of turns then, right? If you're not going 2.5 miles like in Daytona.
Half mile.
Every loop is a half mile, so that's just what is it? It's the 400? Oh, 500. Fuck. Half mile, 500 miles?
Well, it's not.
Is that 1,000?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like where we live.
Yeah, so
How many times do you have to go around?
A half mile is 4 miles. So a full mile is 8. 8 times. That's 8,000 turns. Wow. I wonder what if there's more bumping or what's going on here. There's just. What about the straightaways when you pass the other cars, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know much about racing, but I've been around a couple people who really know racing, and this is all within the last 2 weeks.
Katie?
Katie's one of them, but Katie didn't say this, that NASCAR is going through a lot of problems right now.
Shout out to Cupcake Katie. She actually sent us a nice card for our 11-year anniversary. Thank you, Katie.
Oh, cool.
And that was following the nice Easter card that we also received from Cupcake Katie. Hey, I heard the same thing, that NASCAR is losing popularity.
Mm-hmm.
It peaked about 15 years ago,
They're
and it
not
was still
replacing their
popular a
drivers.
few years later. That's one thing I heard. And, well, yeah, I guess that was one of the main things. I guess everybody was familiar with Jeff Gordon,
Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson. There was Kevin Harvick. Even me, I'm just throwing names out there, but you heard them so many times. And a few of those that I just named retired, or just have moved on. And the new names, I guess, just aren't sexy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Truex, Joey Logano. I've heard a few of those.
Dick
but
Trickle.
But, yeah, so, how do they recover from that? How do they make those guys stars? I don't know. Is it too competitive where anyone can win? And therefore, if you can't rally behind a winner, it's hard to promote them?
Well, all those guys you mentioned all kind of had a story, right? Like, nobody liked Jeff Gordon because he was a California guy, right? California guys don't know how to race. He had his thing. Tony Stewart's just getting in trouble left and right, right?
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., dad's a legend. I don't know. Maybe they got to look at MMA and start doing shit.
Start building lines. Who knows? All right. If you're a Cowboys fan, how you feeling about Dez Bryant getting cut? He's their number 1 wide receiver, and he's kind of like one of the hearts and soul. No, I guess you could call him the heart and soul of the Cowboys because, I mean, the quarterback's an important position, so maybe one would argue and say, no, it's Dak Prescott. But I'm talking about the locker room, commanding presence, the one that psychs you up, and he's on the sidelines, and he's picking up the quiet guys or the ones that just need that fire.
Like your Ray Lewis.
Yeah, I feel like he's special in that regard. He'll give you 8 to 12 TDs. He won't give you 16. He may only give you 6. He may only give you 1,100 yards, but I feel like he still has a little bit of a presence. I know from time to time he drops balls, but I would say he could probably rebound and play somewhere, and maybe still have a few good seasons left. But that one's got to sting them, man. The fans probably aren't digging that one too much. All right, let's get to this phone call here. He's been waiting. Kevin from Chicago. What's up, Kevin? How you doing? Kevin from Chicago, you there?
And how you doing?
He's not there. He's not there.
Hey, can I bring up something?
Put him back on hold. Yeah, what's up?
So we talked about Joe Lauzon earlier in the show. And every time we interview Joe for about the last year, we kept asking him, like, where are you at in your career? Are you winding down? Are you getting close? And his answer is pretty consistent. He was just kind of taking it fight by fight. I think he was aware that maybe he wasn't as competitive as before. But I feel like this past weekend, that decision no longer belongs to Joe Lauzon. I think that's been taken out of his hands. And I think he may get one of those calls from the brass going, hey, kid, I think it might be time. Right? That was bad.
Does the brass make those calls?
I
feel
can't
like
remember who it was, but didn't Dana kind of suggest to somebody?
I feel like he makes that call to Liddell's, Penn's, St. Pierre's. I think you got to be one of his top 6 at the time.
Think so?
And then you have the call. I just don't think he has enough time in the day to make these calls and be involved with everyone. I think he's, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he holds
Well, look
them
at
dear
Cub,
to his
right?
heart.
Cub, he was giving Cup calls about his contract.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. Do you want to see him retire?
Yeah, I do. He's done a lot for the sport, and he's one of the rare guys who haven't won a title that I think a lot of people would still say, if you could have a career like Joe Lauzon, would you take it? Fuck yeah, I'd take it. All them bonuses, all them great fights. I would. But I don't want to see him get hurt. He's such a nice guy. He's a father now. He's done a lot for the sport. I don't want him to have troubles later on in life.
Yeah, I think I agree. All right, Danny, do we sort out what happened to Kevin?
Is gone. We do have Penelope from LA though.
Penelope from LA, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you. Doing well.
So my question is in regards to the James Vick, Justin Gaethje drama. I was just wondering, as a woman, I find it kind of odd when grown men complain about other men and the comments they make on social media, especially fighters. And I'm just wondering if you think that's kind of a weakness in a way that's shown in their character, that they would even care what another man says about them on social media.
You're talking specifically about, you heard what Gaethje said. You're talking about specifically about how he reacted to Vick, right?
Yeah. And in his interview, he just acted very bothered by what he was saying. It was awkward, to me at least.
I think it's normal for most guys until you come across a guy who doesn't let those things get into their head. And then you realize, wow, life is so much easier if I just thought the way this guy was. If I was as mature as this guy was, life would be a lot easier. But most guys don't realize that until you actually come across somebody that's able to do that. Most guys aren't, so I think that's why this type of thing happens, especially in a sport that's as competitive as mixed martial arts like that.
I do agree with Penelope when I saw the headline. So I sat through the interview. It's John Morgan with Justin Gaethje, and then all of a sudden, poof, he just pivots to Vick. And even though I like trash talk, it did catch me off guard as to how much this affected Gaethje. You know what I mean? And you could tell, like, he said if he sees him in the street, he's going to slap him. So what was it that Vick said that was really so bad? I mean, I think this guy's a veteran of almost 20 fights. He has to know that people are going to pick on each other on social media sometimes to get the fights that they want. So that one did catch me a little bit off guard that he was so consumed with it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could tell he was actually kind of mad because one thing's to make a quick comment, and then the other thing's to actually take 90 seconds out of that interview to just focus and say how perturbed you are and what you plan on doing about it in the future.
As fans, you have to evaluate the context of what he said, right? Like, how did it get set up? Because a lot of times people will complain about, and I'm not saying this is you, Penelope, but a lot of people will complain, oh, I can't believe this fighter said this or said that. You have to pay attention to the way they're being interviewed. Sometimes they're just asked a question, and it's their response to that question, right? And you only get that clip, right? So you're going, why is this guy tripping over that? Well, because he was asked. You know, if you didn't ask the question, he wouldn't just wake up and go, you know who I really don't like today? So I think you have to kind of realize, in this case, they were kind of going in that direction, but not really. Justin took it in that direction. So it is interesting. His mind is supposed to be focused on something else. Go ahead.
To me, it seemed awkward that it would just pivot so dramatically. Like, it must have really bothered him. I don't know.
Do you want to see the fight?
You have to have this. Do I want to see the fight?
Yeah. Do you want to see Vick and Gaethje down the road?
Yeah, why not? I mean, anytime there's any tangible beef there, like, why wouldn't you want to see those two people go at it in general?
We park our cars in the same garage. I agree. I hope they make it. He's got his hands full here with Poirier, but at some point down the road, that's a clip that they'll point to, and maybe it'll build up. Maybe it'll be for a huge fight, and it'll generate buzz. But I'd like to see them fight. Man, you know, you can almost grab the top 30 lightweights, put their names in a hat and just pick out 2, and you got a great matchup.
Well,
that's why you could build a whole
Well,
card
it's a
based on
stack-
that.
It's a very stacked division, but if somebody called me a human punching bag, I'd want to fight him too. So I'm interested.
I think before that comment was made, if you would have told me that fight got put together, I'd just say, great, that's icing on the cake. But now that that comment was made, now I have to see it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Who do you like this weekend,
Well, thank you
Gaethje
guys
or
for your
Poirier?
time. Well, Poirier has this really little peanut head, and so if if it gets punched, that might be a problem. But if he can stick and move, then I think Dustin.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Penelope.
All right.
See ya. From L.A., too. She sounds like she knows what's up, man.
Good call.
Yeah, that was a solid call. That's as solid as a debut. You know how Jim Ross said the other day, in 40 years, Ronda Rousey debuts. That was one of the better debuts. Yeah.
Very
All right.
good.
Hey, do we have that clip, by the way?
Yeah.
Can we play the clip? So for anyone that hasn't heard this, I think now is a good time, building off of Penelope's call, so that you all know exactly how it went down. This is John Morgan having a pre-fight interview with Justin Gaethje. So Justin Gaethje is fighting Dustin Poirier this weekend, and then all of a sudden it just takes a turn towards James Vick. Let's play that clip.
I'm very thankful for this opportunity. I could be fighting some turd like James Vick, fucking crybaby that never shuts up. So yeah, who knows?
So I guess we know your opinion on James Vick there.
God, that dude needs to get slapped. He called me a bitch on the internet, so when I do see him, I'm gonna slap the fuck out of him.
Fair enough.
I'm not happy with him.
Well, we got to focus on Poirier right now. I've heard some people
No,
say...
I don't. I mean, he doesn't. He literally. It's like seeing a little kid that just won't shut up because their parents won't spank him. It gets old.
Any party that wants to get in there and teach him a lesson at some point?
No, I don't. Like I said, I'm focused on Dustin right now. I just on the social media, I wish it was not invented, so that we could not hear anything from anybody. Fans, bad fans, good fans. I mean, at the end of the day, the loud fans stick out the most, and they're not the good ones.
I can't imagine you get hate online. Why would you get hate?
Yeah, hey, this world is full of hate, so that's why.
All right, so there was 2 opportunities there where I think he could have gotten away from it and just gotten back to the focus, which is Poirier. One was when he said, or I could be fighting, like he starts off by saying, I look, this is a great opportunity. I could be fighting a turd like James Vick. John giggles, and then he could go back to finishing his sentence. Instead, he goes and, he talks about he called me a bitch or whatever. Okay. But even then, John says, well, I take it, what does he say? I take it you're not a fan or or
and would you like
you've
to be the
expressed
one?
your feelings, yeah. And so from there he goes on and then kind of scolds everybody that's being bad on the internet. That's a little bit too much to be consumed for a veteran like him. I thought he said what he needed to do in case those 2 ever match up, but that the sport has been built. One of the things that has assisted the sport in growing is social media. And yeah, there's some negative, but there's a ton of positive too. Someone needs to sit down with Justin and go, hey man, see that? There's 10 more below it, and people love your fights. They're huge fans. So I don't know.
I thought it was just enough. I thought it was good.
Yeah. All right. All right. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We're gonna take this commercial. When we come back, we'll might squeeze in another caller too. 866-522-2846.
Hey, idiot. Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Spring football and college baseball are the focus of SiriusXM's college conference channels. Check out SEC Radio on channel 374. ACC Radio is on channel 371. Pac-12 Radio is on channel 373. All right, we got about 90 seconds to squeeze in Oreo from Alberta, Canada. What's up, Oreo?
Oh, man, that's it? 90 seconds?
Unless you want to go back on hold, and maybe we could talk to you after the Ricky Simone interview.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. That's right.
Back on hold you go. All right.
This
will
will
give
be
me a chance to
question.
I guess, yeah. This will give me a shout-out or an opportunity to give some shout-out to the savages that are in the Facebook chat, starting off with Adam DJ Zuniga.
What doesn't he like today?
Is he a negative Nancy?
Negative Nancy.
Yeah.
He's DJ Frowny Face.
He just actually finished saying something about a great segment. Ricky Scott also in the chat. He's talking about Dustin's got this on the weekend. That's the side he's leaning towards. Raimundo Martin is in there as well. That's Showtime from Tennessee. We'll probably hear from him later on in the show. Game Day D says, hey, fellas. Scott Marco, how does James Vick feel about being dropped out of the top 10 after last week's absolute joke of a fight? I don't know. I don't really pay attention to the UFC rankings, but I can ask him.
I don't even know that he knows.
Kate
He's been so
Price.
busy this weekend.
Yeah, really? Yeah, he just had a father. Sorry, I just had a kid. So that's what I was doing, was congratulating him. And that's what started, hey, I want to come back on and address these
I was talking to him
comments.
at JBLE because we were going to do that thing with the fighters, and he was right in the middle of all that.
Okay. Kate Price, shout out to her. Women have a very calculated vindictiveness.
I mean, guys
Albiel Rodriguez, Pelea, yes. What now?
Guys are like that too. That's just maybe we're not as out in the open with it. But yeah, girls are like that.
Hell yeah, man! You ever seen them Real Housewives of Pick Any
My
City?
favorite one is when you have a hot girl in the group, and then a hotter girl walks in, and she just instantly like, that bitch.
Look what she's wearing.
We don't
Her
do that.
shoes,
Guys
her
don't do
purse.
that. We do stupid shit, but we don't do that.
Sean Foray, he says he's rooting for Justin, but Justin will keep coming forward and knock him out in the latter rounds. Hey, that may very well happen. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be back with hour number 2.
And the one band is crashing all those hopes down.
right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Getting set to be joined by Ricky Simone. He'll be fighting Merab Dvalishvili at UFC Fight Night 128, Barboza versus Lee. This fight is about 8 days away, and Ricky will be debuting in the UFC. Now, that could be a technicality. He did do a Dana White Contender Series, so he donned UFC gear, but I think this is a little bit of a different setting. He's coming off 5 straight wins. Going back to that win, you remember, Donovan Freelo. We've covered that guy for many years.
Yeah, tough guy.
Yeah, Ricky got that win. He followed it up with a win over Chico Camus, a tremendous win for any bantamweight, and then he came back and starched Vinicius Zani in the first round at LFA 36, and that wasn't that long ago, man. And all of a sudden, he got the call, similar to kind of Curtis Millender and what happened to him. Boom, you got yourself a fight, and it's coming up here. We're joined now on the hotline by Ricky Simone. What's up, Ricky? How you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, man. Congratulations. I think we can officially say this is your debut in the UFC. I don't know how to treat Dana White Contender Series because it was their first season, and I thought it was outstanding. But how do you feel? Do you feel like you've already performed for them, or this will be your debut?
No, I don't feel like I've officially, performed for the UFC. I feel like it was like, that it was kind of like a little branch off. But I feel like this is the real deal.
Mm-hmm. How much better are you now? All right, this is about 8 months later than had you not won that night because you did, but had you been accepted into the UFC then, and maybe you would have taken a couple fights by then. How much do you think is there a difference in taking the Camus and Zani fight, and now you're going to be debuting for the UFC? Do you think it worked out better?
I mean, in hindsight, I would say yes. I got the experience of going 5 rounds with UFC vet.
Right.
And then I got a quick knockout finish too. So the more experience, the better. So I can't complain there. But I wish you always wish it would happen sooner.
That's true because you can never have the time back.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was saying you can never have the time back, and 8 months is 8 months, and we don't know that you wouldn't have won those two debut fights. So who knows? But you did get some great minutes with Chico Camus. I remember talking to you before Chico Camus. In fact, did you follow our advice? Did you flick that toothpick at him and tell him meet at Chico and follow the Razor Ramon script that we gave you?
I told you guys I wasn't cool enough to pull that off, but they did like a video edit. They did a video edit, and they ended up doing the voiceover. It was actually pretty funny. So they did it for me.
Ricky Simone here on MMA Junkie Radio. So you got this fight coming up here in about 8 days, but your last fight was less than a month ago. I'm sure you didn't get out of shape. So basically, did you even give yourself a couple days to just decompress and relax before you were, right back at it? Did you have a good sense that you might be getting the call quicker rather than later?
I basically knew while I was still in the cage after I knocked out Zani.
Okay.
My manager was in my corner. He was in talks already. I made it a quick fight, and we kind of threw my name in the hat already for that Merab fight, and so we kind of knew while I was still in the cage. So it was a good night. So I didn't really get to celebrate too much, and I got right back at it on Monday, and so I'm still in phenomenal shape. I was training. I trained for a 5-round fight. Finished that one quick. So I kind of took a light week and then got back after it, and I'm peaking back out again in great shape, weights on point, and I'm ready to beat someone else up.
Do you care? This might be tough to say publicly, but do you carry a chip on the shoulder for being passed up 8 months ago? Do you have a point to prove that you've already belonged in the UFC? At least for a year now, you've just kind of been going through the motions of fighting elsewhere, or will you be able to erase that and just make the best out of this debut?
Hell yeah, I have a chip on my shoulder. I feel like I should have been in a while ago, but you never know how these things go, and I just said I wanted to keep proving it. So this will be my 6th fight in about a year and 13 months. So I've been super active, and I don't want anything given to me. I want to prove it, and I want to keep doing that in the UFC.
Ricky Simone is 12-1 overall with 6 KOs, 1 submission, 5-fight win streak. Tough wins over Donovan Freelo and, of course, Chico Camus. Been a ranked fighter for many years. So this guy's ready, man. His most recent win is a 59-second first-round starching of Vinicius Zani at LFA 36. And now he has a fight awaiting him in about 8 days versus Merab Dvalishvili. That one's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, that one's really Dvalishvili. How the fuck do you pronounce that? We'll just call him Merab Dav or something like that. But they lock horns at UFC Fight Night 128 on April 21st in Atlantic City. All right, goes. What do you have for Ricky?
Thanks, George. Very few fighters retire undefeated, Ricky. Can we talk about the one loss that you had and how that loss changed your career for, going forward after it?
I've never been under like any illusion that I'd be undefeated. My entire career. It's rare that you see that, especially in MMA. So I didn't let it affect me too much. It sucks. It sucked not being able to get a fight for like almost a year. I was trying. I was in camp that entire time. So but it kept me hungry, and I was fired up. And I still am. So I still have something to prove, and they say you learn a lot from a loss, and I just learned to be a little bit meaner.
Being in the UFC now, how often do you think about some of the small things that come along with being in the UFC, like picking out your fight music, your walkout, what you're gonna say to whoever it is you need to say after the fight, whether it's Rogan or Felder or whoever? How much do you think about the little tiny things that come along with this trip?
For me, it's just like finally getting to experience it. I grew up watching it. I've always dreamed of being in the octagon, getting interviewed by Rogan, or being on an embedded or something like that. So for me, it's just getting the chance to be there. I've been watching it for so long, and it's just a dream come true that I finally get to experience it firsthand.
We got the fight analyst Dan Tom here with us. What you got for Ricky Simone?
Hey, Ricky, you're talking about a short notice fight and some of the benefits as far as like, your weight's already on point and stuff like that. Tell me, is weight kind of like half the battle for you, like a lot of fighters? Do you walk around pretty big as a bantamweight, or is this no problem for you?
No, no man should weigh 135 pounds. It's not easy making 135 pounds. I don't like doing it. I'm hungry, and that's probably why I'm so angry when I fight.
I hear that, man. I hear that. Well, speaking of your fight, you looking at Merab, there's definitely some things that stand out. He's really aggressive, especially going for takedowns and stuff like that. But what do you see, Ricky? What do you see when you break a guy like that down?
He looks very strong, and yeah, you're right. He's aggressive, but at the same time, I feel like he's kind of a spaz. Like he in that Frankie Saenz fight, he was just really adamant on getting that double leg and not really, mixing things up very well. So he's strong, but he's spastic at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. So I got to imagine, without giving any game plans away, I got to imagine you're pretty much going to be trying to looking to capitalize anytime he's out of position out there, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to go against another strong grappler. I feel like I've been getting fed a lot of strikers. So I'm excited for this guy to try to take me down.
So check it out, Ricky. We'll close with this. Last year we had a guy come into our studio, and his name's Cody Stamen. He was debuting in the UFC versus Terrion Ware. He won that fight. Then he beat Tom Duquesnoy, and then he followed it up with Brian Caraway. All of that, man, in less than a year. And now I'm sure the next fight will be even a higher ranked opponent. And all this happening in a division that's just getting ready to blow up because there's so much talent at 135 pounds. So with your kind of record, the win you're coming off, the experience you gained versus Camus, man, the stage is yours, my man. All this can get done in 1 year where all of a sudden everybody knows who you are in the UFC, and maybe you're headlining your own fight night or you have a high-profile fight on a pay-per-view. So congrats on all the hard work and hanging in there and not letting that night at Contender Series get you down. And we wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully we can keep doing these interviews prior to every fight.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to see what happens in the UFC, and I definitely feel like it's my time.
Awesome, man. All right, brother. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Safe travels to Atlantic City. Good luck on the 21st.
Yep. Have a good day.
You too. And, folks, he switched his Twitter handle recently. It used to be Ricky Simone 135. It's now Ricky Simone UFC. So give him a follow there. Let him know you heard him on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Huh?
You kind of got to do that, right?
I think so. It took me a while. I was like, wait a minute. I know he's tweeted about it before, and you just have to go another page or two. But SEO stuff, it makes sense, I think, to align yourself. I mean, that's your new home, and the UFC pops on fight night. So that was a good move by him. All right, let's get to Ario. He's got a great question waiting for us, and it requires more than 90 seconds. What's up, Ario? How you doing? We're all ears.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, did you guys talk about the proposed TV deal that the UFC might be signing?
We did, but there's not much to talk about in that. I prefer, of course, anything coming through Junkie, but I respect the other websites, and I just don't know that there's anything too concrete, because even the sourcing that was out there is just what we've heard, things like that. Nothing that was actual factual, So if you just want to play ball and talk about that, ESPN and NBC have an offer out there of about $350 million. Each side would put up half. They would split the events, and similar to like SmackDown and Raw, not to get too pro wrestling on you, I think each side would maybe align themselves with certain fighters, kind of like how Nate Diaz was always on Fox, or Demetrius Johnson was always on Fox, and other fighters are always pay-per-view guys. So maybe that type of a split. Who knows? There'd be no more Tough, no more Ultimate Fighter, but the Dana White Contender Series would be, all that. I mean, there would be a huge spotlight there. So am I. They would lessen the amount of pay-per-views to 6. Are you okay with that?
Oh, definitely okay with that.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay with that.
Why?
Because I'm okay with less fight nights and less UFC Fight Pass fights, but more pay-per-views. It's not because I enjoy paying it. I just like hosting viewing parties. And I feel like the vibe of Fight Week on a pay-per-view is awesome. You know what I mean? It's what I get when it's Super Bowl week or March Madness week. Like, I really, really get fired up for those, because usually there's multiple belts on the line, and it's a tremendous buzz, So, I get that some people will say, well, yeah, but it's extra paying. But I just wish that we could stack those and lessen the amount of fight nights. But but can I live with it? Yeah, I probably can. What were you saying?
Well, that's where the conversation falls apart for me. Not only do I agree with you, George, unless I see it on a place like Junkie, can we only take it so far in the first place? But speaking of that, where it falls apart for me is that it didn't list in that description what the shows were. And for Dan Tom, who doesn't miss any of these fights for years running, that is the one number I'm looking for. How many shows a week? How many weekends do I have to be a human being? A year. But no, unselfishly though, obviously taking all our personal equations out of the equation. The reason why I think that the less shows in link to the 6 pay-per-views, I will weigh in on that part of it. Why I think it's good is because I think it allows breathing room. I think UFC 223, aside from the madness that took it apart,
you like the build-up?
I think we all loved it, right? I think we all loved it.
That's a good point.
I think we all missed it. I think it'll improve the pay-per-view numbers, which have shown to slump. It will allow us to stack cards, which will help us prevent kind of insurance measures for things like this. The breathing room will allow us to
stack the cards.
Well, and then the breathing room will also allow us to pay more attention to regional shows, to help those promotions garner interest and get more ground. Which is, again, what's good for the geese is good for the gander, right? You know what I'm saying? So again, I think it just on so many levels, I think it fuels the state of the sport. Now, does it feel a pocketbook for a business transaction? We're going to find that out soon enough, guys. But as far as selfishly for the sport, I think those numbers going less, I think, does more.
I'm looking for one thing, and it's early on when the UFC was talking about these things, was one thing they never wanted to give up was production.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Here's what I would actually like to see that happen.
Okay.
I have nothing against what the UFC has done in the past. I think they've done a tremendous job. What I would like to see is if it were a player, say like HBO, I'm into what HBO does to promote a fight. I think they do an excellent
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
We've talked about when we see the Fox desk and hearing the Fox music and what it sounds like when you hear Kurt Menefee's voice versus, whoever else's voice they would have going in. I kind of like that type of stuff.
Yeah, I love
they
big
have a
Fox
face-off, something like that. Now, George, you've seen that you can have a big fight on HBO, it not be pay-per-view, but still be an event where you have people come over your house and do that. I don't know that you can do that so much with an NBC or a Fox because they have so much else that's going on that it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle sometimes. So if it were someone like HBO where they could give up some of that production value to those guys, let them up the production value a little bit, I would be all for that.
Okay, well, that was my question.
Yeah.
Then,
Was there more?
Yeah. My actual question was, okay, George, if you're Ari Emanuel and Goes, if you're Patrick Whitesell, and Danton, if you're Dana White, do you guys take this deal, or do you reject this deal and use it to get leverage on Fox? I'll take that off the air, but yeah.
Okay, thank you for the call. Well, if this deal in fact exists, ESPN's a beast, man. Now,
first?
if this is like a 10-year deal and it doesn't go right, but ESPN is a beast, NBC's a beast, there is benefits to 6 pay-per-views. Don't get me wrong. It's not like there isn't. So now the big Fox shows would probably be on either ESPN or NBC. 350. I think they were aiming for 450, so it's not like they're that far away. And it's 3 times what they got with Fox. But his question is, do you refuse it and leverage it versus Fox? We're already in April, and I think that thing expires at the end of this year. But I'd reject it once and just see if they up it. Because the UFC's usually come through in those situations. They've usually been able to get incredible offers for anything that revolves around them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'd refuse it once, but not twice. I think after that, if that's the best offer, then I go with him. But is he asking if Fox matches stay with Fox versus going with the other two? Or
yeah, and
because Fox has already offered $250 million a year, I think.
And you got to answer as the people that he, I think, assigned us all characters. So, like, I would have to answer as Dana White. So, like, I would probably answer yes, like what Goz was saying of the production. I would say yes because one part of Dana White, you got to think, to be critical. He's kind of checked out, right? And part of him, as far as he's been through it all. You got to imagine he's kind of burnt out, and justfully so. I'm not hating on the guy, like justfully so. You only can give so much, and I know the layoff times and with the whole UFC, that's such a tight staff there and a family that had to have been tough. It's only been descended since then, so it makes sense for them to cut their production. So part of me was thinking, you know what? If I'm Dana White, it's one less thing I got to worry about, one less guilt trip, one less stable I have to tend to. I already even checked out. Maybe I want to go do boxing promotion. This is one less thing holding me down. Sure, but then part of it where Dana White still has his teeth, that Steven Espinoza line, right? And I think going with whether it's a Fox or an ESPN or an NBC, it puts him in the non-lineal or the non-pathway where he can still compete with guys like an Espinoza and still compete with an opposing model.
I will say this.
Still gives him that.
It seems like the relationship with Fox, maybe this is the way it works in television, where when you are renegotiating, it has to cool down. You have to let them know, hey, there's other suitors as well. If you want to keep the fire burning, you better come strong with the next offer because we've both grown. So it could be that, but I've just noticed that the relationship with Fox it's cooled down, and I don't know if it's for a reason other than what I just stated. But if it is, then yeah, I guess I am into a powerhouse like NBC and ESPN, maybe doing something different. But if all they want to do is have Fox match and stay with Fox, I also am a fan of consistency because I know how much it hurt the UFC when they left Spike and then they had to start all over and we had to go through FXX, Fox Sports 2, and there's a baseball game that's 12-0 that runs over and you got to call your friends and tell them, nah, you got to run over to Fox Sports 2 versus Fox Sports 1. It just kind of gets confusing, and I think the other two would present a little bit more stability. How about you?
I hate that. I hate it almost feels disrespectful when you're getting bounced to another channel. People don't know about it. You set your DVRs. People are getting pissed.
It's true.
ESPN, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. Okay? I would go somewhere like HBO. Match with boxing. This is us. This channel belongs to us sports-wise. If I go to ESPN, I mean, a lot of people are gonna go, yeah, whatever. World Series is bigger, NBA Finals is bigger. Small fish in big pond. I don't want to do that. I want to have a
But they're in
presence.
so many homes, and think about the promotion they'd give you.
They're still gonna cover you at night. You're still gonna be on ESPN.
What if that's where that Espinoza line came from? Maybe that was a hint of what's going on behind doors right now.
Maybe. All right. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be back. We'll take some calls, and we'll also talk to James Vick, one of the top lightweights in the world. He's pissed off, and he's pissed off at Justin Gaethje. We'll be right back.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device, and then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. Let's talk to Brian in Boston real quick, and then we'll catch up with James Vick, who's ready to go. He's just needed a couple minutes there before we get to him. Brian in Boston, what's on your mind?
Hey, boys. I was kind of listening to the discussion about Fox and ESPN, and I kind of like the Fox setup right now. I think they do a good job. I actually like the multiple channels so they can bounce us around in case something else is going on. My biggest fear of ESPN is having to listen to friggin' Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. I don't like all that douchey ESPN stuff, so kind of hope they sit tight. Secondly, you also mentioned that, you kind of want more pay-per-views, and I don't know if you said that just because you like the viewing parties versus the fight nights, but I think for the majority of the pay-per-views this year, they've been freaking terrible. Like UFC 224, look at that. That sucks. I have to pay for that. UFC 225, I'll pay for that all day. But the fight night card coming up this weekend, to me, is more intriguing than that crappy UFC 224. I think they just throw title fights at the top of the card. You shouldn't have to pay for that main event on 224. That's garbage.
He's making a good point.
Right, but so what I said was if we kept 12 pay-per-views instead of 6, but we stacked them with talent that, okay, not to take away from this weekend's card, because I like big Fox cards, but Kevin Lee and Edson Barboza, what if you put them on UFC 223 or 224? What if you put Cub and Edgar on that fight card? Now all of a sudden 224 is looking better. And yeah, would a fight night be rocking and rolling? No, you got to give them a main event, and that's it. After that, it's just people that are fighting for their jobs or fighting for a position or whatever. But your best talent, I think, should go on the pay-per-view or on the big Fox cards.
All right. Can I make a stupid comparison? WWE. For the longest time, we grew up, and what did we look forward to? Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. That's only 2 off of what they're trying to do. Wasn't it kind of nice to have that every once in a while, right? And
but
built
they do
up,
have
and
12,
they were big cards,
They
right?
do have a pay-per-view every month. It's just there's 4 that are like, how Bellator calls them tent poles?
Yeah.
I think that's what they call them. Listen, I can live with 6, all right? It's not like I can't. You just asked me for my preference. It's 12, but only if they can stack them. I want to see cards like the ones New York got the last couple years. And I'm talking about not just Brooklyn, but MSG, like the one Detroit got. Detroit was fucking
that was
Cejudo and Pettis, Overeem and Ngannou, Gaethje and Alvarez, and you still had Aldo and Holloway. I mean, that's been fucking insane to me.
Oliveira, Medeiros, and all those gems on the undercard.
You see what I'm saying? That's a card. You see what I'm saying? So if you're going to make them like that, you tell me you couldn't put up with 12 per year? You could, right?
Yeah.
But, again, that's going to take away from some of the other cards. All right, Brian, those are our thoughts. We got to move on, though, man. We got to get to our guests. But thanks for calling in. It's always great to hear from you.
Hey, boys.
Easy, Brian.
See you, Brian. All right, let's talk to our next guest. He's ready to go. UFC lightweight James Vick. What's up, James? How you doing?
What's up, guys?
Not much. How about you?
Nothing. I'm good. I'm actually in the process of moving right now.
Okay. Within the same city, you're still staying in the greater Dallas area, or are you moving somewhere else?
No, yeah, I'm actually just moving in. I'm moving in the same apartment complex, just to a bigger apartment because I just had the baby.
Congratulations on the baby.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me about that experience. Where did you have to don the scrubs and get in there and hold hands, and what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. It was kind of intense, man. It was being a part of seeing a baby born. It was kind of it was strange, man. It was something different. Definitely glad guys don't have to go through that. That was rough. My girl handled it really well. Everything went well, and it sucks. We have to move. We just had the baby, 4 or 5 days ago, but we have to move now because the apartment wasn't available before the pregnancy. was over, so we have to wait. So now, luckily, her mom's here to help. So now I'm just trying to move all this stuff over from one apartment to the other one.
Now, is that you with a refrigerator on the dolly? You're doing all the hard work, or did you hire a couple guys, some professionals, to do it?
No, I'm dumb, so I went ahead and did it myself.
James Vick, you're a
But,
professional athlete, man. What if you hurt your back? You got to hire some guys that have the back braces and they have all the straps and all the equipment. Let them handle it, man. You just pop open a beer and say, that goes over here. Box number 1 goes in the kitchen. Bring this over here.
Well,
let them do it.
It was horribly planned out. It was horribly planned out, man. So basically, the thing is the apartment already has the refrigerator in it. So realistically, the only things I have to move with the dolly are really is the the washer and dryer. That's it. The rest of the stuff is I have this other guy over here helping me. We carried the bed over, so you can't even really load it on the trunk because the apartment is literally right next door to the one I live in. Not like next to, but the next building over. So we just have to walk it from one building to the other. So it's just a lot of walking and carrying stuff. But really, I don't have anything really that heavy. I use the dolly for my gun safe and the washer dryer, and that's about it. The rest of the stuff can be carried by hand.
You know what else the dolly can be used for?
Yes, I do. I saw that. Yeah, probably many things, but yeah, I saw that.
You lightweights are nutty, man. You've always been you've always had a crazy side to you. McGregor, of course, had an epic week last week. Justin Gaethje's got a big fight coming up this weekend, but he's tossing your name out. This is the year of the lightweight. A lot of drama, a lot of great fights. I'm pumped up. I'm sure you are too, even though you were on the opposite end of the call-out.
Yeah, that's fine. If he wants to call me out, then that's just, that's more publicity for me. The fucking guy's delusional. I mean, he's going to slap me when he sees me. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I wish he would. We'll see how close he even comes to even touching.
What happened there, by the way? Why was it on our show, another show? What happened there that triggered him to be kind of pissed off? I mean, he is focused on Poirier. He said that, but for about 90 seconds of the interview that he had with our reporter John Morgan, he turned his attention to you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's fine with me. Basically, I think I'm assuming everything stems back to when he made his UFC debut back in last July. I was sitting cage side. Poirier was actually there cage side with me. The UFC set us, me and him next to each other, and we were cage side. And then right after the fight was over, me and Poirier basically went up to Sean Shelby and both said we wanted to fight. So I got on Twitter and I was like, I'll knock this motherfucker out. And that's pretty much what I said. So I don't remember exactly what I said. I basically said something like, I'll knock this motherfucker out. Then the next day, the UFC sets his ass right next to me, like 2 seats down from me. So then, I wish I would. Of course, I'm not going to try to start a fight with the guy after he just went through a war the day before. I'm not that, that messed up. That I realized he just had a war literally the night before. I'm not going to try to start a fight with a guy in the stands, But when he was talking to me or whatever, he was kind of acting like he didn't even see my Twitter call out or anything like that. So when the fights were over, I looked in his eye, I shook his hand, and I said, hey, bro, I just want to come at you as a man. I know you saw my Twitter call last night, and I said, I know you I want to fight you. I'm just letting you know I want that fight. And he said, yeah, I understand. That's no problem. And that's pretty much was the end of the conversation. And then I go to fight some other time or something, and then I think before I fought Duffy, he popped off something on Twitter and started running his mouth back, saying something back. And then I replied back to that, and then I guess it's been going on ever since then from there. But I think maybe some of it's maybe his manager is saying something on some of the social media stuff. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, that's fine. I'm a fighter. He's a fighter. I mean, I'm not wrong for saying I think I knocked the dude out and we should fight. So I mean, that's fine with me, and that's exactly what I want.
Okay. Yeah, all this sounds reasonable to me. I love the trash talk. I love fighters that take command of their careers and ask for what they want. And the fact that you said you backed it up with you approaching them and saying, hey, as a man, I said this is the fight I want. It just so happens our sport is more confrontational, but it's no different from a cavalier saying, yeah, I'd love to play the Warriors in the finals again, or something like that. It's just ours is different. What are we supposed to say? I'd love to throw a jab against your face. No, you're saying I'd love to knock you out, or just that's the way it comes across.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do anything like it's the day after. This was literally the day after after he fought Michael Johnson. I'm not going to. The dude's all beat up. He was damaged. You know what I'm saying, from that fight. I'm not going to sit there and try to pick a fight with the dude when he's all fucked up and shit. But I did let him know. I looked him in his eye, shook his hand. I said, bro, I know you saw my call, and he said, yeah. He basically had said he had stayed off of social media in the last 24 hours. He goes, I ain't even saw nothing yet or whatever. And then that happened or whatever. But I mean, it's a lot of these people are saying, I'm being trying to be too fake, calling the dude out. No, I just want to fight top ranked people. I've been calling these dudes out, and it's crazy how half these people act like they don't want to acknowledge the fact that I'm even calling them out, and they want to. A lot of trolls are on here acting like, oh, well, Gaethje's already fought 2 top 10 guys. He fought Michael Johnson, who was on a 3-fight losing streak when they fought. The dude had already lost 3 fights in a row. So you beat one guy that had lost 3 fights in a row, and then the other guy you fought, you lost. So you're 1-1 in the UFC, and you can say what you want. But, I mean, this is what I've said before in previous interviews about him. All of his competition outside the UFC wouldn't even be ranked in the top 40. All the other, he was 17, 18-0 before he came to the organization. Every guy he beat outside of this organization, not one of them would be ranked in the top 40. Can you name one that you professionally would think would be ranked in the top 40, George?
When he fought Palomino, I don't know how. I don't know, because I don't really look at the rankings past like 15 or 20. So I'd have to see where Palomino was at.
Do you really think Palomino would be in the top 40 in the UFC versus all the lightweights and killers we have?
I hear what you're saying, man. I hear what you're saying. I don't have his record offhand, but yeah, I think we all know that. I think we all know that most of the 95% of the top talent does reside in the UFC. So I get what you're saying. Well, I take it you're rooting for him to win, so you can take him on. Is that how you want it this weekend, or are you Team Poirier? How do you see the fight shaping out, and what's your preferred scenario?
I mean, honestly, I don't care who wins, but the problem with him, if he does win, then I'm probably not going to get the fight. You know what I'm saying? Because if he does win, then he's going to think he's in line for a title fight. So here I am, probably not getting the fights. If he loses, do I want to turn around and fight a guy that's 1-2? Yeah, I will. I mean, fuck it. He's got a lot of hype behind him. I'll take the fight. I mean, it's not going to, to me, it's not going to be a great, step up for me. They're acting like this dude is top-level competition or something when he's not. He gets wobbled every fight. The dude's a punching bag. He just takes beatings and comes back. That's all cool. But, I mean, the dude's already halfway slurring when he talks and shit, so I can't even tell if he's already not messed up or what. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I understand why fans like the guy. He's right. He has a fan-friendly style for sure. But I don't have to fight like that. I can knock this dude out without taking hardly any damage at all. And that's what I prefer. When I fight Justin Gaethje, we're not getting fight of the night. But he's not going to get a fight of the night bonus because he's going to get knocked the fuck out. And I'm going to get the knockout bonus. That's how I see that. I just think that we'll see how it plays out. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win. Because Poirier's been knocked out a couple times as well, So we'll see how it goes. But I think that I'm definitely probably not going to get to fight the winner, no matter who it is. At this moment, I wish, but they probably ain't going to agree to fight me.
Let me press you a little bit more, because you're always talking about James or Vick's picks. Are you saying you can't pick the winner of this fight, or you don't want to pick the winner of this fight? And if not, then do you have any other winners for us? Because you know me, I'm a parlay monster as well. Who do you like this weekend?
No, we're better. What's the odds on this fight, actually?
Poirier is minus 140. Gaethje's plus 120.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably lean a little bit towards Poirier to win. I would probably lean towards him a little bit. He's a southpaw. It's going to be a little harder to kick his lead leg. I mean, Gaethje's going to throw some outside leg kicks and land them, but being southpaw, and I would probably lean towards him a little more. He has fought better competition, but also Poirier's taken a lot of damage in fights over the years as well. So if I had to bet, I would pick Poirier.
One more.
Who's next?
Condit is plus 160. Cowboy Oliveira is minus 200.
Cowboy Oliveira is a really, really stylistically a bad matchup for Condit. because he can wrestle and he's long and he's strong. But I still think Connor's going to win because, Cowboy is taking this fight on 10 days notice or 2 weeks notice or whatever. And I think that might play a factor. And, Condon is still, he's still a top level fighter. So, I'm probably going to pick Condon on that one.
Okay, what about over at KSW 43? We have Drukas Dupisis versus Roberto Soldic. What do you like in that one?
No, buddy.
They have these odds up, and I figured if he actually would have given me a breakdown, I would have said you're the most hardcore fan I know.
I got one more for tomorrow, early tomorrow. George and Goes are minus 280 at the Win Buffet versus the buffet that comes back at plus 170. Who you got?
Oh, y'all going to kill the buffet.
Hell yeah. Hey, James.
I'm seeing you eat.
James, now that you've had your baby, and I'm sure you'll have your move wrapped up this week, how much time do you want to give to being the father of a newborn before you can start to detach yourself a little bit and say, well, daddy's got to go back to work, start a camp, and fight? There's a lot of shows that are popping up. Boise, Vegas, Chicago, Los Angeles. Like, you got your eyes on anything?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Well, I will be moved by this weekend for sure because I have to move. I only have this key to this other apartment for 2 days, so I have to be moved. And then I'm always training. There's a difference between, obviously training camp and training, but I train harder outside of camp than most of these dudes do in camp. I train twice a day, 5 days a week, once on the 6th day. I basically practice 6 days a week year round. And, the weight cuts are what's more hard on short notice versus the fights. I can fight 3 5-minute rounds right now. I just sparred last night, and I sparred Wednesday morning boxing, and last night I sparred kickboxing. Wrestled, and I've been in the gym, and I stay in the gym. But I actually got offered a fight already. But
who is it?
I can't say anything yet, and I'm kind of in a contract negotiation with Sean Shelby. So once all that goes through, we'll see how it goes. If I get that fight, or we'll see maybe Gaethje will get on the mic and run his mouth. Maybe I'll get that fight. You never know. But I can't really discuss who it is. But I will say it's not someone in the top 10, and I'm not happy about that.
Do you have?
I understand.
Go ahead. Finish.
What can you do? What can I do? I can't really do much because the only 2 guys in the top 10 that are not injured or booked is Eddie Alvarez and Diaz, and Nate Diaz isn't going to fight anybody but Connor, and Eddie Alvarez isn't going to fight me. So basically, I kind of have no choice. So I'm not happy necessarily about not getting that, but I'm just I'm not going to sit on the shelf. I'm going to fight and make money for myself and my family.
James, are you out of contract, or you still have 1 fight left?
No, so I have 2 fights left on my deal.
Okay.
But with the contract, with the opponent, the time frame, everything they're offering me, I just told them I wanted more money. So we're kind of in discussion with that right now. So he gave me something. I told him I'm going to think about it. We're going to see how it goes.
Can you? You can't tell us the opponent, but can you tell us when it would go down? Like maybe a month or a season?
In July, sometime in July.
Okay. Well, it's coming up pretty soon. Maybe you get on that big what do they call it? International Fight Week. They got 2 cards. They have the pay-per-view, and then they have what's called the Tough Finale, if they're still going to call it that. So that'd be cool to see you fight in person. Well, I hope it all works out for you on that end. But I've been hogging up the stage. Let me give it over to the guys here. Goes, what do you have for James Vick?
James, on that same topic of Justin Gaethje, when he speaks, he makes it sound like you guys' next fight may not be in the cage. Like, if he sees you, something may go down. Are you going to be able to show restraint in that aspect? I mean, if a guy gets in your face, what's going to happen?
He's not going to get in my face, period, because if he gets within striking distance, he's getting struck. You know what I'm saying? If the motherfucker comes close enough to me to fucking get hit, I'm going to check his ass. Or at least muff him in his face and push him back, there ain't going to be no cordial walking up. I'm going to be like, stay the fuck away from me, dude. Don't get within distance to me. Come on, guys. I was a bouncer for almost 9 years. Let's street fight. Let's see how that turns out for you, Justin. You know what I'm saying? I've been in probably 500 more street fights than he's ever been, and that's not even saying that in a bragging way. I was a bouncer for 9 years. Like I'm not really worried about Justin Gaethje walking up on me trying to fight me in a street fight. Hell no.
James, finish the sentence for me. If blank doesn't happen in 2018, I'm gonna be pissed. What is that blank?
If I'm not ranked in the top 3 in the world by 2018, because my goal is to be a world champion this year. But how is that going to happen if I can't get a top guy to fight me and I can't get, the fights I need? If I fight and I get in there and I lose, I can't blame anybody but myself, and I'll go back to the drawing board. But I still want that opportunity. I've earned that opportunity. I've been in the UFC for 5.5 years and have one of the best records in the organization. I deserve that opportunity. So if I'm not in the talks of fighting for a title or haven't already got a title shot by 2018, I'm going to be pissed.
James is right. You know how Tony Ferguson can boast that, 13-1 record? I think James is at 9-1. So he is getting to that point where the matchmakers are going to have to step in, or the president, and say, hey, you got to take this fight. That's the guy's earned it. But go ahead, Dan. What do you have for James Vick?
No, 100%. And as much as I'm a fan of watching James Vick fight, especially, lately, James, you've really been stepping it up, man, with this run. But I'm like George. I really enjoy your analysis, man. And I got to ask you, since it's within your division, did you have any thoughts on this this last weekend's fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Al Iaquinta, more specifically with the criticisms of Khabib's Nurmagomedov stand-up? I know you're somebody who has your eye on the top of the division. You know a thing or two about boxing and the jab. What are your thoughts on that fight, James?
Well, a couple things. I think that I watched Javier Mendez on the MMA Hour, and I thought that he gave I think he's a very intelligent guy. I've never actually saw an interview of his until then, and the dude's very intelligent. And he called it exactly right. He said, I don't know why, Joe Rogan was talking about Khabib's stand-up like that. He's like, the newsflash, and we never claimed he was a striker, and I think he did a good job of saying that, and realizing, I understand. I mean, does Khabib have holes in the striking? Of course he does, and that's what his coach said, but no one expected him to be a striker anyway. So I think that, he has holes in his game, but I think that's not a surprise if you knew and had watched him fight before. That's not a surprise at all. And I think Al Iaquinta did very good, and I think Al Iaquinta makes a very good point for himself when he was doing an interview after he said something about he'd only fought 90 seconds in the last 3 years. So I mean he fights 90 seconds in 3 years and then comes around and goes 5 rounds straight with the considered the best guy in the world. That's pretty impressive. And with some more time, he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys for sure.
Awesome. And last question for me, James. I know you can't get too much into the negotiations, but while we're talking about analysis and how much we enjoy it, you're obviously you're fighting your ass off, and you're burning the calories. You're doing everything and more than anybody could ask for your own career. But in these negotiations, is there going to be any talk about maybe getting on that Fox analyst desk, getting any of those spots on the UFC programming? Any of that going to be brought up in the negotiations?
Here's the thing with that. Well, Sean's going to say he doesn't deal with that department. First off, I already know if I did. But the thing is I actually did have an interview for Fox before. I had one back in December, and I didn't perform the way I should have. I guess they didn't. I got some good feedback on the stuff I did wrong and the stuff I needed to fix and stuff like that. But obviously, that was I have no one to blame but myself there. I got the audition. They flew me out, and I didn't get the job, so I'm not bitter about that. That would be my own fault that that I didn't perform, So I felt like I didn't prepare. It's not that I didn't prepare properly. I just didn't have the time. They told me, and then like a week later, I basically had to fly out, like a week and a half later, and so I didn't really have the time to get it all done. And I kind of dropped the ball on it, so it's my fault. But I did have that opportunity to audition for the pre-fight show and the weigh-in show and stuff like that.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully you get a second chance, because I think you speak very well, honestly, and you got a lot of fire in your belly when it comes to this sport. You're very passionate about it, inside and outside the octagon. First things first, get that contract. Hopefully you get the opponent you want. We'd rather you not fight Justin Gaethje outside of a cage, but rather inside the cage, because I think it'd be a great matchup. So anyway, James, again, congratulations. This is where it all started, was us basically saying, hey, congratulations on you becoming a father, and then you stated that you wanted to get a few things off your chest, but back to that, enjoy that, and I'm glad you have a safe and healthy baby, and everything's good. So thanks for the time, my man, and have a nice weekend. Enjoy the fights this weekend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. All right, folks, that's James Vick. We're going to take our last break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Stay close.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Spring football and college baseball are the focus of SiriusXM's college conference channels. Check out SEC Radio, that's channel 374. ACC Radio, that's channel 371. Pac-12 Radio, that's channel 373. All right, time for the daily debate. Brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. Here we go, and thank you to the 1,566 of you that already voted. What's your prediction for UFC 225's recently announced CM Punk versus Mike Jackson bout? Goes!
Man, I think it's going to be a decision.
Oh, you're right. Punk via decision, Punk via stoppage, Jackson via decision, Jackson via stoppage. Sorry.
So my game that I was trying to play was who's going to win by decision. I think it's going to be a decision. I don't see a stoppage in it. I think it's going to be Mike Jackson. I think you will see improvements in CM Punk's game, but I don't think it's enough. It's not enough time. So give me Mike Jackson via decision.
Now, this isn't a title fight or anything, so it's 15 minutes. Can they make it to 15 minutes? Dan, Tom, what do you think?
That was my initial reaction, too. But looking at Mike Jackson's striking, the guy can pop when he gets going. So unless CM Punk can force it a ground fight and force to stymie that action for a whole 5 minutes, 3 times, 3 rounds in a row, then I actually see Mike Jackson getting the stoppage if he can't do that. So I'm going to go with Mike Jackson via stoppage.
I agree. I think Jackson via stoppage is the play here. I think Jackson will win the fight, but I think it's because if CM Punk just can't get him to the ground, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that's heralded, in the gym, it's not going to be in play. So I think Jackson can possibly get himself a stoppage. I haven't seen too much of Jackson, so I really can't tell you if it's just that one type of punch power, that can lay out CM Punk, or if it'll just be like ground and pound on the ground. Maybe he knocks him down and finishes him off that way, which I think is what I lean towards. But I think in 15 minutes, one guy will get the other, and I think it'll be Jackson taking out CM Punk. And it's official. It is going down at UFC 225 in Chicago. So congrats to Mike Jackson for getting that fight. I think it all just comes full circle with Mickey Gall and everything. So good on them. All right, folks. The votes came in with Jackson via stoppage at 49%. In second place was Punk via decision. And then the last two were Punk via stoppage and Jackson via decision. You know, Punk's very popular. Some of this may have been that. Who knows? Anyway, that is the Daily Debate for today. And it's our last one of the week. Brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. All right, it's time to close up shop now. However, we do have one caller on hold, and I also want to go through the guest list that we had for the week. Thank them all for the time because it means a lot, not just to you fans that listen, but to the guests that we have to allow us to catch up with them throughout the week. So stay close. Sirius XM Minus, we'll see you next week. The rest of you, overtime in about 10 seconds.
They're all living the devil may care, and I'm just a devil with love to spare. So viva Las Vegas, viva Las Vegas. How I wish that there were more.
You guys are clear for overtime.
Showtime from Tennessee. It's Yo time. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, and you?
Enjoying the show and sitting out on my patio at the house. And, well, my deck, actually. Just out here enjoying the sun, man.
What?
What do you say?
On his deck.
I thought he
On
said
his
something
patio
out.
deck.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 77 degrees here, so. But it's kind of humid, though, man. That's the only thing about, living out this way. It can be fucking 65 degrees and be humid. You may be sweating a little bit.
That's why it's good to have a big deck to lay out on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for some fights, man. I'm ready to watch this Bellator, watch the fights tonight. And
that's right.
Get ready for
Chandler
the tomorrow.
Gertz tonight, and then tomorrow, 14 fights, man. 6 on the Fight Pass alone, 4 on the prelims, 4 on the main card. The prelims and main card are all on Big Fox. I mean, that's a great day to just chill and yeah, it could be that day. That day is so long that you have wherever your time zone's at, you may have a lunch and a dinner.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. If you're having like a fight party or something,
yeah,
people could
come
legitimately
here early
go,
for lunch.
What's later?
Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah.
Later on, it's like, hey, is there going to be a dinner served too?
I'm good. I'm good with it. It's just as long as they all happen. Last time I checked, Gilbert Burns was he missed by half, and he's still waiting. He's in his 2-hour window right now. But
just by half?
Just by half pound.
The fight can happen. It's just whether he wants to give up the 20%, right?
I guess so, but he exercised the option, and the doctors cleared him for another 2, so I guess he's going to go that route.
So it sounds like more than likely we'll have a fight.
Yeah, more than likely we'll have a fight.
All right. Now give me some predictions. Gertz and Chandler, who you like?
Chandler.
Gaethje and Poirier, who you like there?
Oh man, that's gonna be a good one. You know what, man? I think Gaethje, man. I think Gaethje. I think he'll find a way to stop Poirier with the leg kicks, and I think he'll stop him.
How about Alex Oliveira and Carlos Conduit?
Oh man, that's dangerous. I actually said last night. I said I like Condit, but damn, man, the more and more I think about it, man, Cowboy is a bad SOB, man, when he's on top of his game. But I think I'm gonna go with Condit because of the short count. Cowboy taking it on if he get out of the first round, then I say Condit, but I'll just pick Condit.
Showtime, will you be at the Junkie Gathering this year?
Yes, I will. You know that.
You're not that automatic. You missed the last one.
Yeah, but I had.
He's acting like he's the Undertaker. Come on, do I ever lose at WrestleMania?
Nah, I'm gonna book my room and do everything here pretty shortly, probably this weekend.
Monte Carlo and Excalibur are really cheap. Stay tuned on Mandalay Bay and Luxor, working on something there. But sometimes we don't get what we want. And even though the Luxor's comfortable, you know what I mean? Like, Excalibur is literally one of those where if you say, hey, everybody, good night, because we always finish at the Luxor Center Bar, it seems. Mm-hmm. And when you go to your room, you walk to the inclinator, not the elevator, that's what it's called, and you're in your room within about 3 minutes. The Excalibur basically just tack on 5. Hell, I think it's a moving walkway for 75% of your walk. You still have to go up an elevator or an inclinator. Your inside, so there's not extreme cold or extreme heat, and it's just a fucking bed, a shower, a shitter, you know what I mean? And those prices are very, very economical. So it sucks that you don't stay in the Luxor, but maybe Luxor is in the cards next time, or maybe there's a price decrease, or maybe we can work something out. That's what we're going to be trying to do as well, to try and maybe get a price break for junkies. So that and the Monte Carlo, the reason I say that is because if you're one of those that's going to go to the weigh-ins and there's going to be a, the fight card itself, maybe a fight night, I don't know. That all takes place in that area, And plus, when you're at the Monte Carlo, the Toshiba Plaza is really small. You cut through New York, you cross over the bridge to Excalibur, and then it's that 5-minute walk we were talking about from Excalibur to Mandalay Bay. So really, really, it's not that far, and both of them seem to be economical. And now they're called Park MGM, and they're redoing the whole casino, and apparently they're putting a lot of money into it. So it's a pretty nice place to stay if you just want to not do Excalibur. So just leaving some options out there for all y'all.
Getting excited.
Yeah, I think I'll Luxor though. I can't. I stayed at the Excalibur. I'm not an Excalibur guy. So.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for the call, man.
Have a great weekend.
All right, see ya. All right, I want to thank our guests for the week: John Morgan, Ray Longo, Brad Tavares, Mike Bond, good old JR, Cub Swanson, David Feldman, Chase Sherman, Ricky Simone, and James Vick. Already locked in for Monday's show is Matt Brown, and we're hoping to have, obviously, another superstar or two for you all on that day, and next week will be a ton of fun. I've already started laying the groundwork for some guests that week. I'm sure we'll be reacting to Gertz and Chandler's fight, the Gaethje Poirier fight, and of course we got our boy Kevin Lee fighting Edson Barbosa that following Saturday. So I mean, we're right now we're in the midst of the eye of a hurricane, man. Some really, really great fights coming up for these next few weeks, whether it's fight nights, big Fox cards, pay-per-views. I can't wait. I think we had that nice little time off in March, but I'm ready to jump back into it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
What are you watching, man? That was really cool, that soccer stunt you showed me. I've never seen that.
I don't know what this is. That was something else.
That was something else?
This is titled People Are Awesome.
People are awesome.
I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, my head was still on Showtime saying that I'm not an Excalibur guy, because as soon as he said that, I don't know why that made me laugh, but I pictured Showtime having to wear like one of those, like the King's Crown from Burger King. They have those with the Excalibur, the horse, the medieval time show. Like, I pictured Showtime wearing one of those, and I thought we should make a bet with Showtime to where if he loses it, he has to wear one of those Excalibur King's Crown hats for one whole day of the Junkie Gathering.
Showtime's never fake.
Because he's not an Excalibur guy.
The what if game is useless with Showtime. He'll just do it.
He will? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's why I love Showtime so much. He's another reason why I love Showtime.
Danny, do you remember when we tried to get him to talk like a white guy one time? How fast he made that decision?
That was so great.
Go, hey, Showtime,
like,
when you make your call, talk like a white guy. And he just went, okay.
Yeah. He made
that happen every single time.
Has he made that call yet? I haven't heard it.
I think he did it one time.
Did he trick us?
No.
He did it for like the first 5 to 6 seconds of his call, and then just like cleared his throat and started talking like normal.
Yeah, he pulled up like from the cliff with an airplane.
How long ago was this? How did I miss that?
He did it once like 4 years ago, and then he did it not too long ago, like I don't know, 6 months maybe the most.
I think it was closer to like right after the gathering or something, because I think you almost made it into like you can make up for not coming because like this way or something like that.
Do you have any gigs this weekend, Danny?
I do not. I have gigs all of the next weekends in April and early May.
Any
this
in
is
New
the
York?
last weekend I don't have anything. Yes, actually. I was going to tell you. I'm playing Brooklyn on the 27th.
I'll have to tell my cousins. They wanted to come catch your act.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for this week. Maybe just on the way out, Dan, do you have a parlay piece, or what do you have?
Plays are going to be Courtney Casey straight up, taking the Condit Oliveira under. People are torn on that side. I just don't see it going past 2.5, especially for plus money.
Okay.
I'm going to have my fantasy article being released later today. And, of course, all my breakdowns and analysis you can always find on MMAJunkie.com.
All right, so Courtney Casey to win.
Yeah,
the
straight
under
up money line.
in Oliveira and...
Under 2.5 currently listed at plus 155. And over and unders you can usually find at most houses online or most most legal houses will have it to physical if you're in a casino.
And who did you have in Gaethje Poirier?
I have Poirier, and that's probably why I stayed away. You know, I don't blame anybody for taking the dog there because that matchup's going to be a car wreck. You know, it's who crosses the finish line first or in one piece. So I good luck if you're playing that one. I'm just going to enjoy and crack a beer.
You have a parlay, Gus?
Gaethje will not lose that home.
Is he in your parlay?
Yeah. Gaethje to Oliveira.
See, Dan already did a ton of homework, so I'm on Team Poirier, I think. No, I am. I mean, that's who I chose. Not that I dislike Gaethje, because that dude's been phenomenal over the years.
Arjun Buller and Carlos Jr. are going to be your popular parlay pieces, George, for this card, I think.
Who are they?
Arjun Buller and right around the minus 330 range, probably, unless he got bet up. And then Antonio Carlos Jr. minus 265 range.
So he just steamrolls Wicharek, Adam Wicharek?
Wicharek, apparently, but, you know, Wicharek's kind of live. I put Wicharek on my fantasy for that reason because he's like a Stefan Struve guy. He's really big. He has more experience. He can knock guys out on the feet and submit on the ground. We've only seen Arjun Buller in one UFC fight. He only has a handful of fights outside of the UFC. A lot of upside, but we still don't know a lot about him.
Who's the other one?
Wicharek, the guy he's facing.
No, you said you like Buller.
Carlos Jr. versus Tim Bosch. Carlos Jr. probably about 2-1. Yeah, Shoeface, 2-1 over Tim Bosch. Tim Bosch always has that one-punch knockout power, but... Man, the vets, the MMA hasn't been too kind of the vets lately, you know?
There'll be two Tim Boaches there that weekend, right?
Yeah, there will be.
No.
We are out of here, folks. Go out there and be champions.
Vegas!